is going on, guys? Dublar back here with the first build guide from the new Rise of the Necromancer DLC. I'm really excited to be bringing you this build because it really showcases some of the new mechanics that were put into the game with this class and is currently the strongest solo Necromancer build on the leaderboards. It's a ton of fun to play and definitely a good introduction to the much awaited class. This build will likely evolve as we creep closer to the season, but in its current state, it is very viable with proven clears in the high 90s. I'll be doing my best this season to follow the Necromancer meta and bring you the best build guides this coming season. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the build. As always, we'll briefly cover the gear here, but check the Diablo fans link in the description for the optimum stat rolls for each individual piece. So getting into the gear, the first set we'll run is the Inarius 6-piece set. This set has been a community favorite since it was introduced and has proven to be the strongest yet. The 2-piece bonus will buff bone armor damage by 1000%. The 4-piece bonus will grant an additional 2% damage reduction per enemy hit, and the 6-piece bonus activates a tornado that deals 750% weapon damage to nearby enemies, and also increases the damage our character deals against those enemies by 2750%. The other set we'll be running is the Endless Walk set. This set is a staple in many push builds because of its versatile damage reducing and increasing affix. We'll gain up to a 100% damage increase when we're standing still, and a 50% damage reduction when we're moving. Adding on to the survivability, Ancient Parthian Defenders will be our bracers. These will offer a 12% damage reduction for every enemy stunned within 25 yards. We'll also be running Unity in order to have all incoming damage. Reminder, in order for this damage reduction to work, we'll need to be running the same ring as well as an immortality relic on our follower. For a belt, we'll run Dainty's Binding. This will grant a flat 40 to 50% damage reduction whenever an enemy is afflicted by our Decrepify skill. For a weapon, we'll run Raeliana's Shadow Hook. This will offer an additional 0.5% damage increase for every point of essence over max. Alright, so moving into legendary gems. The first gem we'll run is Bane of the Trapped. Not only is this one of the best gems in the game for increasing damage, but it'll synergize well with this particular build because of the heavy focus on control impairing effects. The second gem is Pain Enhancer. This will serve as a great source of additional critical hit damage as well as attack speed. And one of the most unique aspects of this build, we'll run Mirene, Teardrop of the Starweaver. This gem will add a 15% chance to deal a sizable amount of damage, which will be based on the gem level. Once this gem is over level 25, we'll also gain a guaranteed proc of the same amount of damage every 3 seconds. It's important to note that the damage from this gem will also scale with the 2750% damage increase that we received from the Inarius set. Moving on into the cube items. For the weapon, we'll run Trag'oul's Corroded Fang. This will guarantee a curse is applied every time we hit an enemy with the Grim Sight. Conveniently, it'll also increase damage by 200% to every enemy that's cursed. For the armor slot, we'll run the Aquila Cuirass. This will offer a 50% damage reduction as long as we maintain 90% of our essence reserves. And for the jewelry slot, we'll run Crispin's Sentence. This will offer 100% increased damage against slowed enemies, or 300% bonus damage against enemies afflicted by any other control impairing affix. Moving on into skills, Grim Scythe with the Cursed Scythe rune. This is our main attack and will also serve as an essence generator. The rune will also give us the benefit of applying one of 3 curses available to us at random. Corpse Lance. This attack will serve as one of our highest sources of damage, and it's best paired with the Brittle Touch rune. This will increase the odds of critical hit every time we attack an enemy with it. Although very strong, this skill uses corpses as a resource and is limited to the number of corpses that we have available at our disposal, with one caveat. Land of the Dead. This is the caveat to the corpse resource issue. This will allow us to ignore corpses while it's active, but it has a long 2-minute cooldown. Because of this, we'll want to be cognizant of when we use this skill. The rune of choice here is Frozen Land, which will impair enemy movement and give us all of those aforementioned benefits. Bone Armor. This deals a notable amount of damage due to the Inarius set bonus and will also grant additional armor. The rune of choice here is Dislocation, which stuns enemies that are hit with it. Decrepify with the Dizzying Curse rune. This is a control impairing curse that stuns enemies through the use of the Dizzying Curse rune. And finally, Blood Rush, which will give us a much needed mobility skill. As for the rune, Potency is a popular choice here for the armor buff after casting. Moving on into passives, we'll run Swift Harvesting, which will give us a 15% attack speed to our Grim Scythe. Standalone, which will give us an additional 100% armor. Overwhelming Essence, which will boost our essence by 40 and ensure that we're getting the buff from our weapon as well as our damage reduction from Aquila. And Spreading Malediction. This will give us a 1% damage bonus for every cursed enemy. So now that we have the gearing and skills covered, we'll go ahead and jump into this grift and cover some of the gameplay in order to give you guys a better understanding of how this build is played. So the only real stacking mechanic we need to pay attention to is bone armor. This can stack up to 10 times, and we should be aiming to keep it maxed throughout the entire rift. Since this has the added benefit of stunning enemies, we should be using it as much as possible anyway. So when we engage enemies, we want to try to get as close as possible to them so that they're being hit with the tornado. This will increase our chances of proccing the teardrop gem and is one of our main sources of damage. We want to try to keep our defensive skills up as much as possible. Stunning enemies will help keep us alive, not only because it'll help make dealing with enemies easier, but it'll also reduce incoming damage through our APDs. Stuns will also increase our damage output, so it's imperative that enemies are stunned when they receive damage. Right here is a great example of me ensuring that this elite is stunned before I intentionally apply Corpse Lance. So as with most push builds, we'll seek out large mobs and elite packs for the greatest efficiency. Large groups of easy to kill white monsters are especially useful because they can fuel our Corpse Lance. Lastly, since we're reliant on damage increasing when we stun enemies, we want to try and skip elites with the Juggernaut Affix. As you can see here, this particular affix can be troublesome for this build because it renders monsters immune to control impairing affixes. This has a massive impact on our damage potential for obvious reasons. In a second here I'll run up and I'll actually take out another enemy and you can see how much quicker it is compared to this yellow spider. But anyways guys, once you get these tips down, it's a pretty easy build to play. This run was done with a decently geared character with absolutely no augments, so I don't have any doubt that this will be one of the stronger characters in Season 11, as long as we don't see any nerfs before then. Anyways guys, that pretty much wraps up this guide. This is a fun build that I enjoy playing, and it's a class that I've been excited about for a while. Let me know what you guys think about this build, or even the new patch down in the comments. And don't forget to like and get subscribed to be informed about my latest D3 content, like my 9 PM live streams every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday during the season. Thank you guys so much for the support, and good luck with the build.